Hey, Mikey here. I thought it would be fun to rate the songs on each Beach Boys album. And of course, starting with the first album and going in release order. So, I'll begin with Surfin Safari. My approach to rating is mostly from the songwriter's point of view, emphasizing songs written or co-written by members of the Beach Boys, with production and performance following respectively in importance. Of course, any rating or review of this album has to be put in the perspective of who the songs were written for, a teen or preteen in the early 60s. An adult in the 21st century would find most of this album unlistenable if it came out today. So try to put yourself in the 60s mentality and remember what goes on in the mind of a 15-year-old. Because that is the album's target audience. Another thing to remember is how young the guys in the band were. They were raised singing, but not playing rock instruments. David was 13 or 14 and Carl was 15. I think Mike was the oldest at 21. So playing is remarkably tight for this age group, even by today's standards. The production is simple and fairly equal on all the songs. They were all basically family and neighbors instead of a manufactured boy band put together by some big league manager with access to a huge pool of talent. I automatically rate all Beach Boys originals ahead of their covers. After all, that is why we bought into the albums of the Beach Boys. So, first song up is Little Girl, You're My Miss America. Not a bad song, I just feel it's the most forgettable of the covers, unless you don't care for instrumentals. No story to Little Girl, just a guy flattering a girl. The most interesting thing about this song is Dennis singing lead, and he sounded pretty good. Next up is Moondog. The song originally was cut by the Gamblers, whose lineup included Derry Weaver, who wrote Moondog, Elliot Ingber, who went on to play with Zappa, and Bruce Johnson, who we all know. This cut showcases Carl on lead guitar, and he really does a great job with it. The best of the covers has to be Summertime Blues, an ode to most all of us who can't go to the beach because we gotta go to work. This song has been covered many times, as you probably know, and it merits that because it's such a great song. The choice of this song for the Beach Boys was perfect, and the Beach Boys do a fine job with this. Early teens Carl and David do an admirable job with the co-lead vocal. Imagine how intimidating recording for Capitol Records was at that age. Now we get to the Beach Boys originals. We start with the songs most people call filler. The Surfin Safari album sounds like young kids playing young kids songs, but they sound like clever young kids playing clever songs. If you can get by the teen silly titles, the songs themselves are not without merit. Sure, they could sound like they were playing nursery rhymes at times, but read the lyrics. What a bunch of stories. These songs are well written and performed pretty well by the Beach Boys themselves. To an early 60s ear, the production isn't bad when you think about what 60s doo-wop bands often sounded like. You know, a group of guys all gathered around one mic. Taking the first spot is the fashion statement, The Shift. Well, that is truly a filler song, but it's well played by the band. The lyrics make it filler more so than any of the other songs on this album. Sounds like not a great idea rushed together. But don't let our old man hear this song. Then we get to Chug-a-Lug. This gives us a personal and up-close reveal about the band's early entourage and how different they all were. While the story is well told, the song probably wouldn't age well with Beach Boys' audience, mainly seeing that most of the kids that were listening to this album were only a year or two away from raiding their parents' liquor cabinets. I promise, all I had was a root beer. And then we feel the sentiment of heads you win, tails I lose. But then aren't you glad your parents didn't realize you were listening to songs about roulette wheels, slot machines, and horse races? Being a skinny guy, I always skip County Fair. It's an effective lyric, but I think I weighed 97 pounds in high school. I should have put this at the bottom. Or maybe I should have put it at the top position. I don't know. It's a well-written song, and it tells an important story from my side. That's all right. I get back at that bully, though. That guy probably weighs 300 pounds by now, and I still have the muscles I had in high school. Now we get into some more serious philosophy. I mean, 9 little Indians busied themselves feathering nests for Squaw, and she didn't like them at all. Until the 10th little Indian shows up and wouldn't give her the time of day. Of course, Squaw loved the 10th little Indian. There's everything you need to know about dating in one 1.5 minute long song. Now we feel the victory of the guy who kept the fire burning even with a cuckoo's warning. You'd have thought the guy in the song would have just chunked the clock in the fire, but he was good enough to just dismantle it. He may have broken Cuckoo's heart, but it sounds like he won the girl over in the end. So all is well. While Surfing is the first song of its kind, it just isn't as good as the first song about surfing all of us regular Americans heard. Surfin' is a great little tune. I wish they had a better recording of it, because I always think of it as underrated. It tells the story well. Almost at the top is 409. While the Beach Boys would be able to remake this into even better songs, the song 409 was the car song Ignition. Then there are great lines like, I saved my pennies and I saved my dimes. Didn't we all save for that first car? Wasn't it all that mattered? The album starts off with its strongest cut, Surfin Safari. It makes a statement about who and what the Beach Boys are while making the case for why they are the Beach Boys. If everybody's learning how, don't leave me out. What better introduction could we get into a whole world most of us Americans knew almost nothing about? Sure, the song Surfin' preceded this song, but none of us ever heard it at this point, and it's a good thing because Surfin' Safari says it better. With the opening line introducing the Beach Boys to the world, we had no idea this was just the beginning of what we'd love for years and years. In just one album, we go from Surfin' Safari to 409. The album is in many ways way ahead of most other 60s albums, especially to a teenager. The song Surfin' Safari alone makes this a great album, but so would have 409. For its day, the rest of the album is surprisingly good. How I wish I could buy an album now that is this effective. Thanks for listening. Next up, the Surfin' USA album. Please hit like and subscribe.